Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first session in our series on caregivers. Basically, how to lift others up, meet their demands without burning out, without getting down on ourselves, as it were. So, I think that this is a great opportunity for those that are caregivers at this time to maybe learn how to cope with this new lifestyle. For those that as of yet have not been caregivers, it may be something that comes down the line that's good to have in your back pocket. And for those of you that have been caregivers but are not now, this is something you can relate to, and maybe this will help with recovering from burnout you may have already experienced. So for those of you that are following along in your Bibles at home, we will be reading Exodus chapter 16. It's a little lengthier passage, but it's worth it. As always, if you would like to leave your responses in the comment section, either on the YouTube page or on the church's Facebook page, where this will also be posted, please feel free to do so. I would love to hear your responses. For those of you that maybe need a little more time to think about a given question, some of them are easier than others. If you need time to think about it, please feel free to pause the video. I will never know. Or will I? Dun dun dun. But seriously, if you need to pause the video, pause the video. Also, if the questions asked give a lot of responses, we'll say more than 5 responses, then I will read through the question and the responses one more time. But if there's 5 or less, I will generally just read it through once and jump right into giving my interpretation of the question, my answer. As always, you are free to give your responses in the comment section. And if you need to hear the question or the choices again, please feel free to rewind, 5-10 seconds at most. As always, we do have a couple icebreaker questions. So, first icebreaker question for today is, what is the strangest thing you have ever eaten? The first thing that comes to mind is something I ate when I was in the 6th or 7th grade. I can't remember which one, but one of my favorite authors, Paul Zindel, came to my middle school, and he, did book signing, and the library bought a number of books by him that people could buy up, and then we could read, we could get signed, and we were able to ask him questions. When he did the book signing itself, he was done with his little presentation. He had this box of chocolate-covered maggots open, and he said, "Hey, if you're interested, take one. Please feel free to take one." So I took one, and it actually didn't taste bad, oddly enough. I told my mom about it, and she kind of cringed at the thought, but it didn't taste gross at all. I mean, it was actually kind of crunchy, I remember. But regardless, this is the strangest thing I've ever eaten. I would love to hear, have you all eaten something stranger than that? Or have you all had chocolate-covered maggots? What have you thought of it? Or anything else? What's the strangest thing you all have eaten? Let me know in the comment section. The second icebreaker question is, what food could you eat every day? First thing that comes to mind is cheeseburgers or pizza. Yeah, I could probably eat pizza or cheeseburgers every day. But anything with meat generally. What food could you all eat every day? Let me know in the comment section below. As I said before, today we are reading all of the 16th chapter of Exodus, all 35 verses. So listen now for the word of our Lord. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death." Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. On the sixth day they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days." So Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, "In the evening you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we that you should grumble against us?" Moses also said, "You will know that it was the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord." Then Moses told Aaron, "Say to the entire Israelite community, 'Come before the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling.'" While Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they looked toward the desert, and there was the glory of the Lord appearing in the cloud. The Lord said to Moses, "I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them, at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God." That evening quail came and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, "It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Each one is to gather as much as he needs. Take an omer for each person you have in your tent." The Israelites did as they were told. Some gathered much, some little. And when they measured it by the omer, he who gathered much did not have too much, and he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered as much as he needed. Then Moses said to them, "No one is to keep any of it until morning." However, some of them paid no attention to Moses. They kept part of it until morning, but it was full of maggots and began to smell. So Moses was angry with them. Each morning everyone gathered as much as he needed, and when the sun grew hot, it melted away. On the sixth day they gathered twice as much, 2 omers for each person. And the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses. He said to them, "This is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is to be a day of rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until morning." So they saved it until morning, as Moses commanded, and it did not stink or get maggots in it. "Eat it today," Moses said, "because today is a Sabbath to the Lord. You will not find any of it on the ground today. 6 days you are to gather it, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath, there will not be any. Nevertheless, some of the people went out on the seventh day to gather it, but they found none. Then the Lord said to Moses, "How long will you refuse to keep my commands and my instructions? Bear in mind that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why on the sixth day he gives you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where he is on the seventh day. No one is to go out." So the people rested on the seventh day. The people of Israel called the bread manna. It was white like coriander seed and tasted like wafers made with honey. Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Take an omer of manna and keep it for the generations to come, so they can see the bread I gave you to eat in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt." So Moses said to Aaron, "Take a jar and put an omer of manna in it. Then place it before the Lord to be kept for the generations to come." As the Lord commanded Moses, Aaron put the manna in front of the testimony, that it might be kept. The Israelites ate manna 40 years, until they came to a land that was settled. They ate manna until they reached the border of Canaan. This is the word of our Lord. Thanks be to God. So our first question in regards to this reading is, why do you think the people, having so recently seen God's awesome power, could complain so soon? They were spoiled. They had short memories. It was typical of human nature. Faith doesn't necessarily come from seeing miracles or something else. For me, I feel like it's typical of human nature. There's always that desire, at least as children, sometimes it even goes into adolescence, adulthood, to want more. You have the latest toy, but now something else is coming out. You want that toy too. There's that desire, that want, that has become almost a part of human nature, something that is innate and almost maybe even in our genes. So definitely is typical of human nature. Then again, also faith doesn't necessarily come from seeing miracles. I could see a valid argument for that as well. Someone sees a miracle and it's an anomaly of nature. Someone has been dead for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. Someone's tried CPR, they've tried an AED, they've tried all these things, but nothing is working. Then, after a minute, the heart just starts beating on its own. Miracle? Anomaly of nature. Some people, faith doesn't come through seeing these miraculous things. For some people, faith comes through extended and continuous study of something. For some, it comes through tragedy. Something that would break another person's faith. It sparks someone into having a faith because they're curious, why did this happen to me? So, it's entirely possible they were spoiled. As slaves, they didn't get what they wanted. Now they know they can get whatever they want, and so it's going to their heads. Who knows? Let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. Second question. If you were Moses, how would you have responded to the people's complaints? Quit your whining, shape up or ship out. Lord, why me? Or something else. For me, I think my first response would have been the Lord, why me? I knew that if I were in Moses' shoes, I would have known that I was their caregiver. I would have known that I was the one who's supposed to be caring for them, meeting their needs. I can't just say, you are just being a real thorn in my spine. Get out of here. I don't want to see your face anymore. As caregivers, we can't just reprimand those we're giving care to. Sometimes we are caregivers for not our children, but our parents, our grandparents, aunts, uncles, those who are older than us. And it's not as easy to reprimand a parent, a grandparent, as it is our own children, per se. So, as caregivers, in the broad sense of the word, I think my initial response, if I were in Moses' shoes, would be, why me? Why do I have the difficult case? Why do I have the one who has so many complaints, as it were? But at the same time, I think I would have just gritted my teeth and bore it. I definitely wouldn't have reprimanded them, so the first two responses would not have been mine, but I would have said, why me, kept it to myself, and tried to oblige the complaints, the needs of the one I'm giving care to. As hard as that might be sometimes. But that's my response, and that's coming from someone who hasn't had to do any significant caregiving, so just outside of babysitting every now and then. But that's just me. Let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. Number 3. What lesson was God teaching Israel through the manna? Dependence on Him, not to be greedy, to live a day at a time, to have faith daily. I see arguments for the first 3. Definitely they're getting food from Him, so that would teach dependence on Him. Taking anything, if they took more than they needed, it rotted, it grew maggots, it went bad. So they couldn't be greedy. They needed to take only what was needed. And they did this day after day after day. It was taking it a day at a time. So definitely those first 3 responses are all very logical. They're all great responses. Having faith daily is... I personally don't see that in there, but that doesn't mean that's not a valid response. If you think that's the response, please let me know how you see that in there. I'm curious to see the argument for that one. Fourth question. What do you think was the reason for the Sabbath? God needed rest from providing manna. The people needed rest from collecting manna. To learn that nothing important is lost by observing a day of rest. To worship God regularly. I'm of the belief that God is technically in need of nothing. So God didn't need rest from providing manna. I personally don't believe that. People needed rest from collecting manna. They seem more than willing to go out on that 7th day and collect, but so I personally don't see that. Others might see that though. The one that I'm really leaning towards, I think, is the third one, that nothing important is lost by observing a day of rest. no matter what we do in our lives, whether we're talking about vocation, our jobs, in our family life, our friendships, anything like that, taking time for ourselves, taking time to recharge our batteries, that's not going to get us fired. That's not going to, cause our family to just unravel, unwind, and just fall apart. It's not going to cause friendships to break and go their separate ways. Taking time to recharge, taking time for one's own well-being, that's a very important aspect of life. A number of people don't work weekends, or if they do work weekends, they have some time off throughout the week. I've mentioned this before, but because I work on Sundays, I'm a pastor, I preach, I do services, Sunday school, all of those things, at least when we're meeting. Technically speaking, I work a day of the weekend. So instead of having Saturday, Sunday off, I have Friday, Saturday off. But that's my response, is learning to kind of observe that day of rest, learning to take one's mind off of the important matters we're dealing with throughout the week and just take time for ourselves. It's important. It really is. That's my response. So let me know if you all agree, disagree, have a different response down in the comments below. Number 5. How do you need to apply the principle of the Sabbath in your life? Take a break from work, set regular time aside for rest, get more rest, take time to worship God or something else. I think the biggest thing for me is setting aside a regular time for rest, because, as I mentioned, I have Friday, Saturday off. But then with Friday and Saturday, there's clothes that need washing, sheets and towels that need washing, there's the dog that needs walking, there's grocery shopping, there's sweeping, vacuuming, wiping down hard surfaces. Just Friday and Saturdays become sort of I have a honey-do list, let's get this stuff done. So instead of working in the office, I'm working at home. I'm out running errands. The work doesn't stop. So setting aside a time where I'm not at work, I'm not doing work around the house, I'm just sort of resting. I am 100% disconnected from the busyness of life and just letting myself kind of soak in the moment. I think that's something that I would need to make a more regular practice. I get a little bit of that on my days off, but not as much as maybe I should. So that's my response. Let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. Number 6, God called the Israelites to a life of balance. What needs to happen for you to have a more balanced life? Set aside more time for my spiritual life. Set aside more time for family activities. Set aside time for rest and relaxation. Have a more balanced diet. Have a more consistent exercise routine or other. Well, more time for rest and relaxation would be nice. Balanced diet. My wife and I are very diligent about having a balanced diet, making sure we get dairy, meat, / poultry, vegetables, fruit. We get all of these things in on a given day. However, since moving to Arkansas, we have sort of slipped on our exercise routine. So probably getting back into a more consistent exercise routine, especially since the gym is not open now, so we can't start up a membership there. So that's my response, is more balanced exercise routine, or more consistent exercise routine. Let me know what you all think down below. Number 7, how would you describe your spiritual diet lately? Healthy, balanced, fast food, junk food, other. My spiritual diet as of late, I would say healthy. I pray daily. I'm doing these Bible studies almost daily. I spend a fair number of hours throughout the week inside of a church. So I'm in a place of worship, so I would say my spiritual life is fairly healthy, if not balanced at least. So that's my response. As always, our last question is, how can this group support you in prayer now and in the coming week? As always, if you do have prayer requests, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to pray for you, pray with you. If you have my phone number, or if you have the church's phone number, please feel free to call. I'd be more than happy to pray with you over the phone. I'd be more than happy to share Joy's concerns over the worship service and share it in the Joys and Concerns. So let me know. I'm here for you all. And hey, if you all have suggestions for future series topics, please let me know. The Bible I'm using has 60 different series, and every series has an advanced and a light. So let me know if there's something you all would find helpful during this time. But that is our session for today on taking a break. Tomorrow we will be moving forward in Exodus and jumping right into Exodus 17 with dealing with demands. So hopefully I will see you all back here, I guess not tomorrow, on Monday. We will be jumping into Exodus 17. So until then, have a good day, stay healthy, stay well, and God bless.